Welcome to People Doing Good for Others. Good morning. I'm Gary York. This is People Doing Good for Others, where we celebrate and honor and hold in the light those who truly make significant contributions in our communities. And again, thank you for being with us. I want to thank Wilkes Communications, River Street Network, and WIFM for this opportunity, and we're forever grateful. A wonderful guest today. This is Gary Newman. I met him during a conversation with BJ and Sam Burcham, and they mentioned that if we're going to talk about volunteers, we need to always include Gary Newman. And so I invited him to be part of People Doing Good for Others, and he quickly got on board. And so we're going to talk about his life. He's a graduate of East Wilkes High School, Appalachian State. Had a significant career with Lowe's, and then his volunteer opportunities include the Boy Scouts and the Circle of Care and the Hospitality House and numerous events, First Baptist Church. We're going to talk about Ed Reynolds, so the late Ed Reynolds. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being here, Gary Newman. You want to go back to growing up a little bit about life and how things transpired for you?
Well, I grew up we initially were in the Rhonda community and then moved over into Pleasant Hill. And so went to East Wilkes High School, like I said, graduated in '69. And I guess that's where I met some of the folks you're talking about through Boy Scouts. That's where I met Sam, and Ed was our Boy Scout leader at the time.
Talk about the late Ed Reynolds. He just seems to be a focal point for so many of the folks that I know here.
Ed was our scout leader. He was also, we were members of the same church. Our families were friends, and he was in scouting for I'm not sure how many years, many years. Had a tremendous impact on lots of young men's lives. So
you said he was the person you wanted to be.
He was, the last conversation I had with him, he was in the hospital and they were moving him into hospice. And I said, Ed, you made a difference. And he said, that's all I wanted. So.
Wow.
So that it's pretty powerful, I thought.
Yeah, and have a good friend, his brother Howard Reynolds, that comes by WIFM about every week, and he's just the heart and soul of the things that we're doing. Gary Newman, tell us about being a volunteer. Did you see folks that were doing a lot of that, I guess, as a youngster, and just kind of wanted to be like that?
Perhaps, I guess, in retrospect, I did see people doing that. Of course, people like Ed and people in church and family, neighbors always, just like you said, your your program talks about neighbors helping neighbors,
yeah.
And there in the community, if you needed something, the neighbors, you didn't even have to ask. They were there, said, do you
didn't
need
have
something?
to ask. Yeah. Wow. So you had good role models. All right, let's go back to Anderson College and then to ASU and then to Lowe's. Just kind of pick it up there for us, Gary Newman.
So my cousin was playing basketball and baseball at Anderson, and he put my name in the hat too. I worked as a equipment manager and trainer for the basketball and baseball for a couple of years. It was a 2-year school at the time. Now it's a university, but So that's helped me with my first couple years with the expenses for school.
Right.
So that was a good experience as well.
And graduated from ASU?
Yes, graduated in '73, degree in business.
And directly to Lowe's?
Pretty much directly to Lowe's.
All right, tell us about that culture of pulling together and the great teamwork and things that we've talked about.
I went to work for Lowe's, and I was hired as an office and credit manager trainee, and was sent to Stanton, Virginia, but then I moved to Danville. That's where I ended up for several years. Went into sales and had other opportunities there in the stores, but there the culture at that time was everybody did everything. You know, if you were a department head or there to stock shelves, we all pitched in and did whatever we needed to do. So that was the culture that I guess I started with.
Wow. So it was, to be successful there, you wanted to be a part of the team. Is that, I think that's what you're saying.
Well, that was certainly part of it. And they promised if you work hard and stayed with them, you know, you would have a good career, have a good retirement, and that was always a big incentive too. So.
Some of you were a buyer also. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, I had a chance to come back to Wilkes from Danville, Virginia, and I was given an opportunity to be the lighting buyer for the company, and then became the electrical buyer. So I did that for several years before reorganizations put me in some other roles. So. Okay.
Are you, at this point in time, are you already into this significant volunteering part of your life too?
Not really. That didn't really come about till I left Lowe's in 1999. Our church, along with two other churches, was involved with building some houses with Wilkes Habitat for Humanity. So I started helping with that first build. I guess that was in 1999. So
oh my goodness.
We built, the three churches built, I think, five houses over probably 10 years or something.
So you have carpenter skills too?
Well, you learn a few things.
You learn them.
You learn from the other folks that's there, and you know, I had a background with building materials, so it sort of fell into place. So
okay.
That's sort of how that came about.
When did you meet BJ and Sam?
Well, Sam and I were in Scouts all the way from probably the time I was 12 or 13. Then we were in school together, so we knew each other forever. And then, of course, met BJ after moving back to Wilkes and being around Sam some. So she has been such a guiding light for us here in the last few months, as being a featured guest here, and then bringing in Sam, and then I get the honor of knowing you through her. So was she involved in the Habitat too? Yes, actually she was. She was on the board of directors at the time, and then I think that she was instrumental in me being asked to be the construction coordinator for Wilkes Habitat. Okay. So, tell me about your church right now. Okay. And the role you're playing there, and then some of the things about it. Yes, we've been members of First Baptist Church, I think probably since 1986. But currently I'm involved in a few different things. Some committees. I'm on the diaconate for the First Baptist, and is this of Wilkesboro or North Wilkesboro? North Wilkesboro. First Baptist, North Wilkesboro. Okay. And I'm on the kitchen committee and building and grounds committee and some other things. So that's the roles that I'm currently trying to do. Tell us about what a kitchen committee would do. Well, one of the roles is we or the committee does, with Mike Bullock, does meals every Wednesday night before the various programs that are involved, and so all of the members have a chance to have a meal for the church on Wednesday night.
Every Wednesday night?
Except for a few months in the summertime.
Okay. And
then there are other special programs that,
So you have a kitchen there to provide you do all the cooking on site?
Yeah, we have a really good kitchen there.
Wow.
It's pretty much a commercial.
Are you part of that?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I help. And there again, we do everything, wash dishes and serve food and cook a little bit. But that's.
How about for Christmas? Will there be several big meals at Christmas?
Sure. Mike does meals for, if there's like the cantata, he will feed the choir and the orchestra.
Now, who's this Mike guy?
Mike Bullock.
Mike Bullock.
Yeah. He's probably somebody y'all.
And he's the committee chair of the food committee?
I guess that would be his role.
Kitchen committee.
Yeah. I don't know that he pretty much is, he's a wonderful gentleman.
Good.
He knows how to prepare food for lots of people. So.
Right. Wow. So we had 20 years. How many years with Lowe's?
26 and a half, I think.
And you retired in?
1999,
and
January.
A large, significant number of those years, you knew Larry Stone.
Well, he was.
Tell us about Larry.
He became, I'd always heard of Larry Stone, but he became the vice president over the department I was working in. And so I had the pleasure of working with him, and very, very hard-working gentleman. There, first one in.
First one in the morning. No one beat Larry to work.
Yeah, almost never. So.
Wow.
Unless he was traveling, then you had a chance of being the first one. But other than that, he's probably going to be there first.
Yeah. Set an example, role model, a person of great compassion, I understand, caring for people, and a leader that folks enjoyed following.
One thing I remember that he told us is, he said, every decision you make needs to be, how is it going to make a better experience for the customer? And I thought that was pretty good. Pretty good advice in making decisions. So.
Well, Gary Newman, you've been touched in countless ways by good people. We all are a product of those that come to us in our environments and make us better people So with Larry, each and every meeting you would leave a better person, a wiser person, a person that could do more things because of his training.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think we're impacted by everybody we meet.
Yeah.
Just like this experience.
Yeah.
I think we're impacted some way.
Okay, we have a significant number of other things that I want you to go down the list and talk about communities and schools in Glendora, Yarborough, and the impact of that program.
So I was, one of our church members was involved with the Friends of Youth program, and then his mentee had a younger brother, and so I was asked to maybe I would be a good match for his younger brother. And so I became a match with Communities and Schools for him. Friends of Youth is sort of like a big brother type program, big brother, big sister.
Yep.
And so we met Glendora. She matched me up with this young man. I think he was 3rd or 4th grade, and we became fast friends, and we stayed a match all the way through graduation from high school, and we're still friends.
Really?
Uh-huh.
So you spend time after school or Saturdays, weekends?
We would try to get together at least one day a week, usually on weekends, but sometimes after school, but depending on what his schedule was. But it was a wonderful experience for me.
I have a question, just thinking of this young man, of making a decision to be a giver, to have a servant's heart. Then how does that work with you, Gary? I mean, you must be a profound person of a servant's heart. How does it work with, you said on weekend, well, you had to, take away from something to do something. How does a person that of significance as a volunteer, how does that work?
Well, I'm not sure if I make that decision or someone makes that decision for me. I mean, if I'm asked and I can do it, I try to help.
Yeah. So in communities and schools, they say that this Friends of Youth program, and we'll expect you to spend so many hours, and then that's what we're going to do.
Well, I think if it's something that you enjoy, it doesn't feel like an obligation.
Right.
It feels like it's a pleasure to do it, and I look forward to those couple of hours. Whether we went to a movie or we just hung out.
Hung out.
Yeah.
Glendora Yarborough, she's been with us several times here. One of my favorite leaders in this and all communities. Her effectiveness. Talk about how the Glendora way, if you will.
Well, one thing about Glendora, she does have such a kind spirit, warm heart, and she's always so very much a supporter of those people that volunteer for the organization. And she's always there to back you up with whatever you need. Always and I think that was a big part, is being a support for those people that are working with and volunteering with communities and schools. And she does have a servant's heart, no doubt.
Yeah. She talked about praying to be selected or chosen as a leader of communities and schools, and how that happened, and what a life-changing moment it was. And the times I've been with her, the fundraising, the proms to do for the young ladies, and finding proper dress, and the things that the countless gifts the Glendora way to the youngsters in that program. Yep. Circle of Care.
That's
I want you to tell us what does that mean?
Well, several years ago, our church had a book study, and the name of the book was "Whatever Church Members Should Know About Poverty." And so I was part of that, and it was a tremendous experience. And it asked some questions like, how much homelessness is okay? How much hunger is okay? That sort of thing. And of course, the answer is there's not any.
Not any.
Not any. But then they asked the question, how much poverty is okay? So that's...
How much is okay?
Yeah, how much poverty is okay. Well, then it gives you an opportunity to, with the program, it gives folks a chance to work, to strive to get out of poverty. And that's what Circles of Care is all about. The people become circle leaders. They go through classes, maybe about a dozen classes, on things dealing with, could be budgeting, could be how to interview for a job.
So you become a teacher.
Well, they go through these classes.
Okay.
Now, my involvement is after they graduate, those people become the circle leader, and they're surrounded with people that are their allies, and I'm an ally. So if I'm asked to be an ally to a circle leader, our role as allies is to help that leader try to achieve their goals. And so that's where Circles of Care becomes a program to help people get out of poverty.
So it started in a program at church, and the question was, how much poverty is okay?
Well, that's how I.
Wow.
That's how I was involved. It was, but anyway, I would encourage everybody to check that book out.
So Circle of Care, do we have a community director, and how do folks find Circle of Care?
Look on Facebook, or just you can go and it will give you all the information. Wilkes Circle.
All the local folks involved, names, phone numbers, so if someone is watching us tonight, then that's, when you hear Circle of Care, then you go to the Facebook.
Yeah, that's one of the easiest way, Wilkes Circles of Care.
Okay, good. Hospitality House.
Yes.
I want you to go all the way back to the beginning for you, and what does this organization do?
Hospitality House, I was asked about 6 years ago to be involved with them, to serve on their board as one of the members from Wilkes County. Hospitality House is a regional homeless shelter, though they do much, much more than just provide shelter. And they service 7 counties, of which Wilkes County is one of them. And so some folks from Wilkes County that knew me put my name in the hat as perhaps I would be a good fit for them. I wasn't sure, and I didn't know even know what Hospitality House was, but I was asked to go. We did a tour, my wife and I, and was just absolutely amazed at the work they do. We probably didn't say 5 words after we left there till we hit about Deep Gap. And it's like, how can we not help them? So
how can we not help?
Because wow. But their job is really to not just provide shelter, but to help rebuild lives.
Rebuild lives.
Because it's not just a head on a pillow. It's helping with their other needs. Because homelessness is very complicated. I've learned it's not just needing a job, or it's a very, very complicated issue. But
tell us about your family.
I met Karen at Appalachian, and we've been married since 1974. We have 2 children, 2 grown children, obviously, and 4 grandchildren. So,
grandchildren.
Good. Yeah.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
Wow. Gary Newman, back to the Hospitality House. You mentioned rebuilding lives. So we're dealing with brokenness and how we can lift a person if we get the opportunity. Is that kind of how it is with you?
With me personally?
No, well, the opportunity to help is about seeing the brokenness in folks, and how do we decide what we're going to do with an individual that needs to start life over again?
Well, I think that where Hospitality House is so unique is when an individual comes to the shelter, or they are met with an associate that tries to help identify what their needs might be it medical, maybe it's they need some substance abuse help, counseling,
rehab centers,
financial. Sometimes it might be just as simple as getting someone to help them with a deposit on an apartment, and so they can get established and get back. Or sometimes it's helping someone that there's been chronic illness and they become homeless because they were unable to work because they had no health insurance and therefore they couldn't get the proper medical care they needed. So they will help them get those services they need and help them get back on their feet. And then the goal is to help them to move on,
Rebuild.
to rebuild their lives.
Rebuild. I liked how you said that. You're director?
Well, actually, I'm rotating off the board this month.
Okay.
I've been part of the guiding. I'm
Good.
not sure.
Okay.
Is you
That's all right.
you can do 2-3 year terms,
Sure.
and then you have to rotate off.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Funding for hospitality, and just give us some idea of raising money in the events you are involved in today, have been.
You know, it takes, they have about 25 employees, and when you're doing services for anywhere from 70 to 100 people every night, it takes a lot of money. So they have lots of fundraisers, anything from a 5K race at Thanksgiving to golf tournaments to Merle Fest.
Tell us what you do. Give us some idea of Merle Fest. What do the volunteers do there?
They're a food vendor. They have the hot dog booth at Merle Fest, and not only do they treat it as a good way of making some money, but it's also informing people as to just what a hospitality house is. So it's
so you do some mission work there too.
Well, yes, that's one thing that staff really strives to do, is try to inform people about hospitality house and the services that they have available. So, so that's one thing they're always working towards is letting people be more informed about the need for the homelessness.
I think you said Boone, that's the headquarters for hospitality
main
house?
facilities there, and then it's like here in Wilkes, we have about 5 or 6 sites. It's called permanent or separate site housing, where families are put into housing instead of being in the shelter. So,
did you mention your director?
her name's Tina Kraus.
Tina Kraus.
Right. She's a Wilkes County
resident. You said she's
resident.
phenomenal, just incredible contributor to being a servant.
Absolutely.
Right. And so when you have board meetings, how many folks serve?
I think there's about 20 board members, and of course not.
So like you come together like every quarter or something like that?
Every month.
Every month.
Mm-hmm. And then every board member is expected to be on 1 or 2 committees. So sometimes that means another trip to Boone.
Yeah.
But,
and you say there's a lot of local churches involved in supporting Hospitality House.
It was actually started by 6 local churches there in Boone. It's a 35-year.
35.
They've been in business. I mean, they've been in functioning 35 years. Yes.
Wow.
And it started by 6 churches in Boone, and now lots of churches all over. Well, all over. Support.
So fundraising is such an important part of doing charity and volunteerism.
And they do receive probably 30% of their 25 to 30% of their funds are state or federal funds, and then all the rest of it is money they raise.
Gary Newman, it's been an honor to have you here today, and I want to thank Wilkes Communications and River Street and WIFM, and more importantly, I want to thank you for your willingness to share your experience and your hope and your vision, and that it's a part of life. So just tell us about how we enrich our lives when we give and share and care, how as we give, we receive as we finish today.
Well, I think that we are impacted by everybody we come in contact with. And it can be a very positive and good experience. And I think that's something that we should all be called to do. We should all,
Called to do.
we
What a great
we
way
should
to.
all have
We're called to do
I
it.
think we're called to do.
Well, thank you so much, and what an honor to
you.
have you
Thanks
here
for having
today. Yeah. Gary Newman, on People Doing Good for Others, is sharing his hope and his experience and his servant's heart in a special way. A tremendous community advocate, a person who had a great career at Lowe's, and who believes that in giving we receive. And so until we can meet again, we thank you for being with People Doing Good for Others in this session and honoring Gary Newman, and we look forward to you being with us again the next time. Thank you very much. And again, I'm Gary York, and it's an honor to be with you today. Thank you.